All right, welcome. Now I'm actually calling the meeting to order. Right. I need a motion to approve today's agenda. Guess we still do that. Chris and Tricia. Second? Second to approve the agenda? Second. Thank you, Chris and Kathy. We do not have any items taken out of order, but we do have two guests. So we have our times for them. So dual enrollment at 3:35 and Keller from Office of Institution Assessment at 4:20. So these two discussion items float in that area. If we don't get to it by 4:20, we don't get to them unless we finish early on the other one. Wonderful. All right. And we do have, I've heard of one public comment. I think people are supposed to tell me, but sometimes they tell Tara. Do we have any other public comment requests? Okay, wonderful. So Jordan, you requested public comment.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I requested public comment just to do a friendly reminder that this Friday we have a SBCC longevity and recognition breakfast awards. Everyone is invited. What will happen is as you come to the award, you will be able to enter and get a pin. Now, if you've been here 5 years, you will get a pin. If you've been here 7 years, you'll get a 5-year pin. If you've been here 11 years, you'll get a 10-year pin. At every 5-year increment, you'll get the closest to what you wish. We will then have a full breakfast, which will be super lovely. It will be by our cafeteria staff and our culinary staff, our culinary team. And we'll be acknowledging people for their time. We'll also have our recognition awards be honored. And then we'll also be honoring our Melissa Menendez, who is our K-Word Award recipient. So it's really just going to be a joyous, fun time. It's going to be lovely. If you can make it, great. If you can't, that's also okay. It's the first time for this event. And so it's the first time having this type of event. So I understand there's lots of questions and people are interested in it, but just know we'll have more events for years to come. So just wanted to come and remind people that everybody's welcome, regardless who you are. If you're at SBCC employee.
I asked you this before and I forgot.
It's okay.
If I want to be sure to be there when people are recognized, what time should I arrive? I don't want to get there at 8:30 and talk for an hour. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we're going to probably start at 9.
Thank you.
But 8:30 will be, for socializing, a time for people to come together, gather and meet. And also if you can't make it that day, pins will be available for you to pick up at the president's office after.
Thank you so much for taking that time. All right.
Can I make one reminder,
Sure.
please? Well, faculty lecture also on Friday at 3 o'clock in the campus center.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
So please,
Anyone can sing.
Nathan Kreitzer, when you have to sing, don't. Don't be surprised if I'm out in the hallway, but that's fine. I hope you all come and I think it'll be really fun. It's a big day on Friday, so please don't forget that. And don't forget to put your nominations in. Jordan sent another reminder out with the form, so please do that. So I'm sorry I didn't tell you ahead.
That one is,
Hate me. I'm sorry.
no, that's a delightful one. It's just when there's some huge problem I didn't hear about before the meeting started. That's when it's. Okay, thank you. So we're now at our approving minutes, and as always, I want to express gratitude to my note takers. This time it was Katie and Jess who was filling in for you, Stephanie, and he did feel a little nervous about it, but he did well. So thank you again to my note takers, and again, Stephanie's back on and Katie. But if anybody especially is excited by the notes they took, always send more. I enjoy different voices and perspectives. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Oh, do the motion?
Yes.
This is how our students are at the end of the year.
I'm not gonna ask if anyone read them. I did work hard but it's cool. The record exists. A second.
Maybe just second.
Oh, I can say. Danielle and Katie down typing in that she's like, but Tara's there too. All right.
I'm shy today.
So we usually approve these by acclamation. I'm just gonna ask if anybody would like to abstain.
I guess technically I should abstain because I was here.
I heard you don't have to.
You don't have to do that.
You heard that?
Yes, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
So then let's not, if you're
I
okay.
won't.
Okay, any no's to the minute, like that weird protest minute thing, no, wonderful. Yes, unanimously, okay. All right, my report. Oh, I already opened it. Got here early, okay. So, there's still a few bumps in the road. Our experience with our new, FBCC Central. So, I've gotten a few emails, thank you. Senators, if you want to be a focal point for your division and kind of gather and pass on. Otherwise, Corey has generously agreed to just say, email her. Some people already have. She started a doc. So I would love, if I have it together enough to forward it, Stephanie, I'll CC you. But if you beat me to it, if you could CC me, then we know Corey got it. This is someone who has, 100 to 50 emails a day, and it just doesn't always happen. So, if you've emailed me in the last 2 weeks about this, if I don't CC you and forward it to Corey, you should send it to her again, and then CC me, so I don't forward it to her when I finally get to that email. Again, thank you to those who've already been letting her know. If you do have any appreciations, it would be kind of nice. I mean, they are trying really hard. Ashley made an amazing report. So just if anybody's so moved to say, oh yeah, well, this worked really well, that would be lovely. And we will be meeting again on May 1st. We have Jonathan as our student rep for this year, and that's wonderful. And we'll have, I hope, something more concrete to report. We just had one meeting so far, and we're just kind of getting our legs on the ground here. So, it's a work in progress. We're trying to really build a new system from the ground up. I don't know how much people talk to each other about concerns. So I just saw an email last night and I couldn't answer it, where a faculty member had asked about Follett negotiating part of their contract or rewriting part of their contract to take away that optional fee, the COPAR fee. And VP Fanastock mentioned we're not rewriting the contract. So I'm investigating that because I'm imagining it's up to them. So I think maybe you don't have to rewrite the contract. You can just not charge that fee. So I'm going to just confirm that because that was a very important outcome of a lot of work on everybody. So in case people, I never know what people know about. So I didn't write that down. This was high report experience. I will be giving feedback on that at the May 8th. But just in case people are worrying, please know we're on it. So this was, I wanted to link to things, but we all know, last week we had 2 amazing events. A job fair that involved hundreds of people from the community who were excited to organize their jobs by our cats, which is beyond cool. And then we had the Promise Rally on Friday. And so I just want to say thank you to incredible work everybody did. And also those who did have the opportunity to volunteer. It was really fabulous to be with their students and just sort of have that connection. And yes, they seem younger and younger. But anyway, thank you. Can't wait for next year. And of course, I have ideas about how to improve it for next year. So I hope we'll have the chance to give that feedback. Update, we will be disbanding COI. Finally, it's been a couple years in the making. I know this was on Rayanne's agenda and we were working towards it. It did amazing work for decades now, but we all teach online now. And the Teaching and Learning Committee redesign literally includes that element from the pedagogy perspective and also from faculty training. So ITC can also be the place for software questions. And they are now working on guidelines for AI. So that committee exists with these 2 Senate committees that do that work, with FRC attending as a resource. That was my biggest concern with the Ed Program Committee when we had a distance education plan and we had many fewer people teaching online. We really needed that direct line to the FRC and to the vice president, but we've changed a lot. And the distance education plan, I forgot to add this to the list. That's why I make it a Google Doc. Oh, no. Add to your report. I will make a note to add it orally, that the dual distance education plan is now folding into the Ed Vision plan. So that was another duty that COI used to have that it doesn't have. So Dean's Council approved it. COI approved it, and which is good. And then it'll be at CPC. on May 7th. Okay, quick update on Partnership Resource Team's second visit. This one is on Zoom. I want to thank many people who joined us on Zoom who were from the first visit. We only found out kind of late that that was a plan. We got the invites built on Friday. We got a lot of participation, so thank you. It was really great. We went over parts of the menu of options, and more importantly, we got to kind of ask them more things and live into and imagine the kind of changes that we were hoping for. We did talk at CPC, the meeting before that meeting, so that was wonderful to get that a little bit more feedback from the groups. This Senate agenda item has all the links for stuff, if you just kind of want to review everything PRT so far. And I want to remind you, this group, it is tri-chaired by Ryan, Julie, and myself, and then we each have 2 other reps who are going to be a smaller group to draft the institutional effectiveness plan. We get $200,000 to spend to improve our participatory governance and our resource allocation processes. And so that draft will come to CPC, body that approves it, but also be on the Senate agenda. And so you'll be able to give feedback if you would like to have Senate on our last meeting. The 17th plenary. Okay, that was intense. That was last Wednesday afternoon. We're in this slight end of the semester edginess. And I just want to thank everybody. Is Cornelia still here? Yes. Incredible work to make a slideshow to demonstrate the insane options now for you get 3 choices on how you're funded, and it is the highest choice, but it's complicated. So she did an amazing job on that. And then the big one, and we had told you this before, is that this next year matters for us to have higher FTS. So we are putting out a call, and each department and division and individual will decide how they want to respond to that call. But this is a year where additional FTS will help our future budget going forward, because it folded in to a new baseline. So I want to highlight, we are going to figure out a kind of process. So Maria's graciously given us the first hour of the Dean's Council on Monday. We're going to bring a rough draft, short description of plans for fall, but also opportunities to try to collaborate more. So I just want to highlight, we're not changing caps. Those are in the core. And usually the number in the schedule matches the cap in the core, but it hasn't always. If your classroom was smaller than the core cap, didn't match, or if it was larger, sometimes many people have increased class sizes at different times to meet student need already. So many of you already did this last year. Okay, just to highlight, it's if you have room in your classroom, if you teach a field that you can do that, a subject, and if you have the personal capacity. Some of us, we just need to teach what we are contracted to teach in our class cap, and that's understandable. With that in mind, we hope you will try to make your minimum cap at census, which often involves over-enrolling a couple people to be able to do that. So the next part here is a little, this vision for next year. Collaboration, being responsive, and being transparent. So we've been working really hard through the brown bag sessions this last year. Individual departments have been looking at their productivity, looking at their patterns. Many of us already committed to experimenting with every other year for low enrolled major courses. I know English is doing that. So we're hoping we're gonna have large enrollment for the 1 class instead of the 2 we often offer for early literature. So we're all already doing this, but there's a problem. I'll actually try to follow the order here. Okay, so here's the request in the plenary. This is a big deal. Students knew they were dropped for non-payment after a week, and some students can't pay for their classes now. So now they don't have to. It's a serendipity, bad problem. The FAFSA didn't get ready, so the college has been forced to experiment with this, but it is our own AP that says this. Many colleges do not have that drop deadline. So a future goal is for us to think about that for the future. Future goal for the future, sorry.
Yeah.
Follow what you write out.
And that does not apply to international students, non-paid.
Right, that's a great point, that international students do need to pay within the week still because they don't do a FAFSA, maybe, or maybe other reason. Thank you,
So
so,
make sure that's on an agenda for that AP to be reviewed. I think
Yes.
this is critical.
and I am really sorry, I thought I, had this set up so that I could edit this, and I would have added now, so I'm gonna add the international students.
Yep.
And yes, we'll have a future agenda to talk about that issue.
There's other issues with international students that are a problem also.
Okay, so, okay, beautiful, all right. Okay, so Dean's Council, we will be, as I shared, trying to produce something in writing that's really clear. And our goal for this year is to increase this FTS again for future budget, which matters for all of us. So we want to meet student need. We hate it when we turn students away, have to go to other colleges to get the classes they need to transfer. And then also we have a productivity problem. We're still pretty below our 16. And then of course 17.5 is coming. So this is why this is in all caps. We have to do better planning across the institution because our current offerings don't seem to meet that productivity number. So we are getting new enrollment management tools. And we do need to plan across areas in new ways. We don't have the processes for that yet. So I just want, this is it's kind of a stopgap, and I don't want us to just think, oh, that's the answer. We'll just over-enroll randomly. We can. And I think we all know that's not the answer, but the actual answer is probably gonna be harder than that. We don't know what it is yet, but we're gonna have to work together on that. And then there's a last brown bag series. Our goal is to share a draft of those guidelines for how you can increase your class size, not cap, for fall and summer if you want to. So yes, we're gonna explore the policy for non-payment. The FA is gonna follow up on budget questions that we raised at the plenary in terms of how salaries are reported, and we would like more information there. And we're gonna talk to the Promise about considering a unit cap rather than a time cap to support our local students, as many who have to be part-time. And so that's something we'll be following up on, again, from the plenary ideas that we raised. Last part, a lot of stuff coming through the pike in terms of a chance to work together to try to make tough decisions. The Ed Vision Plan, I don't think that's so much. That's just exciting decisions to improve enrollment. But the Facilities Vision Plan is gonna have some tough decisions because we're not using all our buildings. A lot, so that's an issue and expensive to maintain them. And then the Budget Sustainability Work Group recommendations. So those are two huge reports. They're linked to the agenda, and I know we're all busy, but it'd be really great to read them before the forum. The goal is that there will be a forum for questions and digestion before the end of the semester, which is
Oh, gosh.
really soon. And we're like, oh, is that, maybe that, we'll see. But, so that's the plan. Okay, so thank you. A lot of information. Glad we have the 8th. Yes, Stephanie.
No, sorry, I was reading.
Oh, okay. No, okay. So
So
our,
just as a point of clarification on the Promise thing,
yes,
dual enrollment students don't pay for tuition. so
correct.
They're less of a, I would think less of a concern than
Oh.
part-time students.
You know what?
Or
Thank you.
non,
This is bad.
age related.
This is
so.
bad structure. This should be
Okay.
a new bullet item, I think. But what
Okay.
happened at the plenary is we recognized this
There
is
are
not
other
a,
people not
right, there's
captured.
many, right? And so we want to focus on returning students who are looking for degrees and certificates, and then the increasing dual enrollment and school of extended learning students. That's sort of a different category.
Oh, okay.
So thank you. No, that
Okay.
was, and again, I was supposed to be able to edit this and it didn't happen. I don't know why. Got here early, didn't check that. But thank you. Those
Okay.
are great clarification, and I am gonna attempt to put these in for the final report. All right, so our next one. Are you I thought I made this bigger. Are you okay if I move it, Maria, or would you like to come here? For your report, would you like to
Move what? I'm
like
sorry.
if I scroll, would you like me to scroll or would?
Oh, yeah, no, you can scroll.
Okay.
That's fine. So let's see, what do we have for today? I typed this a couple of days ago, I think. Enrollment management, oh yes, we have an enrollment management webinar, final one for spring 24 that's happening this Friday. It will be recorded, so if you can't make it live, it's okay. The presenter is Eric Shear, Vice President of Instruction at Butte College. He kind of knows what he's talking about, so please make sure that if you can attend it, that'd be great. And if not, you can always watch it later. Email Holly for the link to the recording and she can send that to you. The other thing is, I know, I believe that you have the 25-26 academic year calendar draft in your action items for today. So I'm asking that you please consider approving this as proposed by the Senate committee. It's been vetted and reviewed by several stakeholders. And so we are recommending that you please approve that today so that we can move that forward to CPC next and then to the board hopefully by the June meeting. Let's see. I want to take a moment to thank those of you who have actively contributed to our productivity efforts. We are seeing some really good results. The latest one that we've noticed is the average class cap has increased from 27 to 32.
Say size.
It's not size though. Why would I say size? It's not
Isn't it
size.
like
It's-
who's in it?
Size is different.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
So, and I did want to thank you for that, because we are showing some improvements, and this is for fall. You can see, the last column there, at 32. And so that's gone up, and I want to thank you all for helping us students and move this forward. Let's see, we have one last brown bag, conversation. That's for May 3rd. And please come and join me so that we can continue having these conversations that are not a one-time conversation, they are ongoing conversations. And then finally, I think I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at the next week. I think that you deserve to be there and witness along with our students and their families, their accomplishments, their success. You are part of that, and so I'm looking forward to seeing all of you present. Excellent. And that's all I have for you.
And bring your dollar.
Oh, yeah. That is important for
All you
new
need is a
faculty.
dollar and a dream. Yep. Well, at least bring the dollar.
Yeah, still runs a pool. That's what I will end, so that's a nice ritual.
Yeah, Jordan, don't forget your dollar at graduation.
Otherwise you can't win.
Otherwise you can't win.
That's.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you guys want some insight.
Yeah. Everybody thinks I win all the time, and I've only won once in 35 years, so
That's sad.
it is sad. Lots of things are sad.
More than $35.
Should I go ahead? Kim?
Yeah.
Hey, I should have said what really matters.
Just
Yeah.
want to say, first of all, say thank you to everybody who volunteered for the Promise Registration Rally. It was amazing. We ended up having close to 180 volunteers, which is huge. And registering over 560 students, all in one day. The students came from San Marcos, Santa Barbara, DP, CARP, Bishop, Alta Vista. We also had some students who are homeschooled who made their way in, which was great. They were accommodated and registered. I want to say specific shout out to Angelica and Vanessa. The whole enrollment services team as well did a huge amount of work organizing the event. I also want to acknowledge all of the staff and counselors who worked really hard over the past couple of months. And in particular, the past couple of weeks, going out to all the local high schools, making sure the students had all of the steps to enrollment complete before attending the Promise Registration Rally. That was no small feat, so that really deserves a lot of recognition as well. So again, thank you to everyone who volunteered. Kim, to your point, you should be receiving a survey. to provide feedback on how we might be able to improve next year. We're gonna be taking the next couple of months to really evaluate it was a huge amount of work, and it was wonderful to have everybody together and wonderful to bring all of our students to campus. And we really want to evaluate and make sure that this is, going to benefit both the students and the staff in the long term. So please, when you receive that survey, fill it out and send it back to us. Again, commencement, Maria already shared the invitation to ensure that everyone is participating. From the students' perspective, just want to ask you to remind students, Tuesday is the deadline to complete a degree or certificate application and guarantee that your name is in the program. We still do have a PDF version of the program. So that would be the deadline, and we also stream all of the names on the thank you, that board version. And so that is the deadline to guarantee the students' names are listed. Counselors were out at the campus store grad fest today, helping students get that done. There's instructions on how students can complete the degree and certificate application. Any student who has completed the requirements or will be completing the requirements for a certificate or degree by the end of spring is eligible to participate in commencement. Any student who fills out the application after April 30th is still welcome to walk in commencement. Their name just may not be listed in the program. Yeah.
I remember a time when counselors would kind of be trolling for certificates that students or degrees they didn't know they'd earned. Is that not something that?
Counselors always do that. So
Okay.
anytime the student meets with a counselor to review a degree.
But it's not like we're doing it just out of some database separate.
So, that's a very timely question,
for-
Kim. Once we have the degree works audit software up and running, those are things that we can do.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Last question, maybe this is on the website. If so, just tell me that. But if students are concerned about paying for a cap and gown, what are the options for that? They want to walk.
So certain programs have assistance to help with, cover the costs and caps and gowns. There are different levels of cap and gown packages that students can purchase. I don't, aside from the specific programs, I believe the promise you, yes, Emoja, Rising Scholars, so
Okay.
a lot of programs cover the cost of cap, yeah. Just a reminder too, we're continuing to move forward with the CVC OEI implementation to become a fully integrated teaching college. Lots of departments continue to work to make that happen. We are hoping to have a go live for that in the midsummer. And George is currently working on the communications plan, students, staff, faculty. Final, just a reminder about final exams and the information that we provide to students about final exams. So if students have three final exams scheduled in one day, we do ask them to reach out to you as instructors first to try to get an accommodation and move one of the exams. If they are not able to get that accommodation, they should follow up with Maria. If students have to be absent because of like a medical emergency or accident, again, we recommend and ask that they reach out to you first to try to get an accommodation for that exam. And if they cannot get the accommodation, then to follow up with me. That's it. Thank you.
All right, so senators are invited to highlight anything. Gently scroll the report. And people in the room want to ask anything? Right? Okay, so Trisha has incredibly great notes, as always, a lot of details on. So it's a resource. Any other questions? And Trisha, was there anything you wanted to say out loud?
Not really. You covered quite a bit of it. Just I know Laura Castro's presentation on in CAC about the impact of the AB 928 transfer pathway. That was really interesting and very detailed. So check out the agenda if you're interested in that. But
And
Yeah, and I
thankfully,
guess-
still, like, we should happen to the departments who are affected. That's the
Yes.
goal of the line. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot, and then even that line, yeah, and then and for CPC, I think what was interesting is like, I don't know, the health and safety COVID fund requests survey. I know that's going out soon, or it went out, and let's see, I think, oh yeah, the budget committee, that's what we proposal, we were kind of looking at the charges that the potential budget committee might be responsible for.
Yes, and I think we might hear some more on May 7th about that. Great, thank you. There it is. Okay, so Katie. Okay, thanks so much, you guys.
Can I add, please, a report, short report, one sentence from the FA? Please,
Oh, this is something we haven't worked out. But
I just want to say that we have the party on May 11th from 4 to 7. Can I please say that?
yeah, but you and Josh need to figure that out going forward. And that off to the next person. Thank you. Yes, the party, and we got a calendar invite, right?
Yes, and an email today.
Well, okay, so like,
On the calendar.
yeah, thank you. Jordan's got our culture on that. It's wonderful. Love those of us who follow that. Okay, so I am not going to I'll open it for 2 seconds. This is our, one of our least favorite activities, but important to do, where you need to update your service, and I like remind you of the AP. So senators, get the job done and pressure your incoming people, if those of you are on the way out. There's I didn't know. Yeah, questions.
I have a quick, well, Koi is still on that.
Yeah, well, don't put anyone on that.
Okay, and then my other question,
Yeah.
whose responsibility is it just to get rid of Koi?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't do anything.
Okay.
Move those people.
And then are we still having that EEOC committee? There's like.
Let's just work on this offline. Those are good
Okay,
questions,
okay.
but that kind of coverage is usually handled differently. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but thank you for the questions. You can comment in the doc too. I didn't know we had a facilities vision planning webpage. And I go to all the meetings, so I figured no one knows if I don't know. So that's pretty cool. Everything's, so I'm gonna stop putting it in here. All right. And this is that forum that's coming. These reports are long. You wanna escape other work, read those. We have 2 really wonderful consent items. I would like to put them together. They're both from the sabbatical leave and faculty recognition committee. The first one is Stephen Strand's final sabbatical report summary. I want to remind people that our process, which is rigorous and sometimes a pain in the neck for individuals, is really excellent for documenting the value of the investment in sabbaticals. And just this last year, I was questioned by the board by them, and I could tell them that we have one of the best processes I know. And that we have, the work we do is incredible. So thank you to that committee, and to remind everybody this is important because we're spending tax dollars on it and because we want these to be valuable. And then the wonderful news of our nominees from the our award winners for this year. Clara, Margaret, and Joshua, and Josh is here. But we'll see him a lot.
He ran screaming away already.
Anyway, so these, the nominees are invited to join us on May 8th to celebrate them. My dream is we will end the meeting at 4:30 and have a half hour to talk. Yes, have a mini party. So that's the dream. So I'll put it on the agenda. We'll see what happens. And they're also invited instead, or in addition, probably one or the other, to the FA party where we've honored people in the past. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve these 2 consent items?
Move to approve those 2 consent items.
Thank you, Chris. And do I have a second?
I second.
And Chris, move to approve. Danielle seconded. All right, all in favor, say yes. And I'm looking at my Zoom voters. Yay, thank you. I see. Yes. See if you can hear us, but I know you have a very good reason for why you might not. So, any abstentions? No votes. All right, unanimous. Thank you. All right, that was great. Okay, the action item. We do have a 2025 26 calendar that's been vetted a lot. And, the most interesting detail is that before in the past, the spring break stays the same. The withdrawal deadline, will not be the Friday of spring break or the Friday before. It will be April 3rd. So students, it's still the 9th week before spring break. So hopefully students all know everything, but if things fall through the cracks, it's actually Monday, April 3rd that year. If spring break doesn't, yeah, so that's it. And then
Friday.
Sorry, Friday, April 3rd. Wow.
You're putting us in a shocker.
Yeah, Monday. I was like, Monday's not a good idea. But like I counted from the end, yeah, you don't need to know. Yeah, thanks. Wonderful. Friday, April 3rd.
April 3rd is,
2026.
oh,
Yeah, do we normally make that a color in the calendar?
It wasn't on last year's.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you. So do I have a motion to approve? The 25-26
I'll
calendar?
say motion to approve.
Katie first and a second,
I'll second.
and Jess, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Quick discussion.
Oh, yes.
The purple boxes are new, or at least weren't on the last version. I don't know what they indicate. They're not in the legend.
is it in service?
Nothing on.
They're supposed to indicate in service. so-
Yeah, there it goes. You have to like trace them. So 21, 22.
Got it.
August, yeah. No, yeah. That's just for us. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one question. I know I'm not on the SCM committee, so I don't know what the discussion was behind waiting to look at 2 summer sessions to summer of 27. What, do you know the reasoning behind
You
that?
mean to not pick a date for 2026?
Yeah, like why didn't we look at that for 2026?
We wanted to have the flexibility to not commit to a time now. We'll do it early fall. So that was the thinking, that we didn't want to be locked in if we wanted to make any changes. There's talk of 10 weeks versus, 2 6-week again. And if we picked today, that talk would end. So sooner or later, we need to have that talk.
So we're gonna have that talk this
This
fall.
fall.
Okay,
Yeah.
Does
Thank
this
you.
date conflict with the high school release date for the start of summer session of June 9th?
The
Yes.
conflict always happens. We
Okay.
did this and then they added another week. for winter. So the overlap is we moved it a week to avoid that and then they moved it a week.
and so we don't want to move it so that it doesn't conflict?
Well, that's a
Well,
discussion we'll have.
A whole big.
We have not said it. We're talking for 2026. That's why we didn't set it now. However, when we set this way back when, that was not conflicted. They made the change after this was made. So it's not set for 2026. It is set for 2025. Summer term.
But there's no summer set for 26, correct?
Not yet.
So 2024, this fall, we get to talk about 2026.
Got it.
The 2-year. Got it. Yeah, it's confusing.
The start, but it's the holiday.
Correct. It's just the holiday whenever we start. Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Good questions. So we have a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye, yes. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous. Thank you. All right, I think we are only 5 minutes behind. Am I right? Yes. All right. So I'm gonna get out of the way and make sure, I think I'll just let you open it, Paloma, because you probably know how to get display mode or whatever you want.
All the rules.
Probably can't go into display mode.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
right.
That's okay. Is that big enough?
It looks good.
Yes.
Zoomers, it's good for you.
All right, good afternoon. Lisa Contreras, for the Legion of me, I'm the Senior Director of Admissions and Records, and Michael over there, is our dean, also the dual enrollment. So as many of you guys remember, in July, we restructured dual enrollment a bit so that we could find courses and be a bit more intentional and have some support on the academic affairs end, and also have that support on student services and for dual enrollment, so that
outreach type support, student services support, and then Michael really taking the lead on, building pathways, articulation. And then, yeah, Maria, of course, and
So our goal will be to try to breeze through these as fast as we can, so that our last slide is questions and answers, and we think probably there might be more benefit from your questions, so we'll do our best to get there. You can hold questions till the end, that would be preferred.
so our kind of new way of looking at dual enrollment is through the chancellor's lens of Vision 2030. So her vision is really to kind of upscale dual enrollment and make dual enrollment a priority. She sees that that is an intentional way to close equity gaps for students and make college, an opportunity for all students. So as we're looking at Vision 2030, it's really that intention to close equity, to create access, equity and support, and equity and success.
I'm used to Apple where the thing the other way.
So to the chancellor's vision, her strategy is really using a strategy where we create a course and offer a course for all ninth grade students in high school to take a dual enrollment college course. And in that course, also providing opportunities and access for students to kind of really see themselves in college, and creating and also within that, also for our high school students to then take 12 units in their 4 years of high school. So again, closing that equity gap by providing a ninth grade course option that's not a one size fits all. Mike will talk about that in a little bit, but a ninth grade option for all students, and then also 12 courses while in high school.
So some of the values of dual enrollment, there are obviously values to the student, but there are significant values to the college, just from a financial aspect of it. There are many different ways in which we are reimbursed by the state in terms of course modalities and student type. Dual enrollment students, also known as special admit students, are reimbursed at the highest rate, so we get paid really well for dual enrollment students. And when you look at our CCAP, and I'll explain what CCAP is versus non-CCAP, when you look at the courses that we offer at the high school campus, these are courses that 90% of our courses that we offer are taught by the high school instructor that meet our NQs. And so what that means is that we gain the FTS from those courses with very little to no FTEF. So the salary is the high school paying the salary for those instructors. Well, we collect the FTES, so that's a huge financial benefit to the college. There's also great opportunity for enrollment growth. So lots of statistics on that come from the ladders. It says 51% of CCAP students, these are students taking classes on the high school campus. 51% of those students end up enrolling in the community college. This is a statewide statistic provided to us from Career Letters. There's opportunity again for enrollment growth. So if you're looking at data provided by the California Department of Finance, the outlook for high school enrollment over the course of the next 10 years does not look good. It's a 10-year decline. So every year for the next 10 years, they predict in the state of California that the enrollment population will continue to decline. So if we're sitting back and expecting that this traditional pathway of high school students graduating and coming to us is just going to help us grow, we're sadly mistaken. We need to continue to look for new ways, new populations to help our enrollment growth. This is a population that is sitting there ready to increase the enrollment growth. It's also a recruitment strategy. So I know traditionally there's been stereotypes on, well, I don't know why we're spending this effort. These are students that aren't going to come here anyways, and that's just not true. Data is not showing that. And I think with the creation of a college promise program that we have, and combining that with greater access for students to take more units, what is happening is you are having more and more students, and hence the goal of trying to get students to 12 units by the time they graduate. That when a student gets closer to 15 units, 20 units, I have a niece that's going to graduate in Ohio next year with over 30 units of college credit, that all of a sudden, mom and dad, that conversation starts to shift, right? So when they know that they can come here for 1 year and then transfer and come here free of charge using the promise, you start to attract a very different student population that you probably wouldn't have attracted otherwise, right? And that goes back to that stereotype that, oh, they're gonna go to the four-year school, they're gonna go to the four-year school. That's an assumption. So again, an opportunity for enrollment growth. Opportunity to, this is the big one, this is the big push for these goals coming from the state, is the opportunity to close the equity gap for success. Lots of research is done. Teachers College at Columbia University seems to be the one that does a lot of research in this area. It is proven that when you compare the students that have completed college credit while in high school compared to those that do not, the success rates are through the roof in every single category. They are more successful and likely to complete high school. They are more likely to graduate. They are more likely to enroll in college. They are more likely to be successful in that college. They are more likely to graduate college. It shows that in every demographic and every category, right? So the idea behind this is create greater access, allow more opportunities for students. We know that if we get them, they will be successful, right? So that I have some statistics here, just comparing the college student to the dual enrollment student in fall 2023. Our course pass rate for credit students was 73%. For the dual enrollment student, it was 94%. If you want to look at summer is traditionally a popular time for students to come onto our campus and take summer classes. When you look at that pass rate, again, the college student, 78% pass rate, the dual enrollment student, 87%. When we have them, they succeed. And so how do we create greater access? We are also looking at extending opportunities for incoming 8th grade students. So we're creating programs like our Summer Bridge PEAK program that takes a very specific population, first generation college bound students, and provides them with a structured opportunity to come onto campus, take classes here, provide them support, provide them guidance, provide them motivation, so that when they go into 9th grade, they go into 9th grade thinking, I'm college worthy, I'm college bound, I can do this. So again, another opportunity to close the equity gap.
And really, that is our why. It's really providing access and equity for students that typically would not be college bound. And so this is a picture for our Summer Bridge last year, where our program for access to college program, we worked with them very closely, and we expanded our Summer Bridge program, which I'll talk about in just a second. So again, addressing equity gaps. So our local feeder school, Santa Barbara Unified School District, has 55% of students who identify as Hispanic or Latino, but out of those 55%, only 19% of those students take advantage of the dual courses. So how are we going to close that equity gap? It's our biggest population. We are an HSI institution, and how are we intentionally going to do so to these students? And so that work cannot be done without the boots on the ground. So I do want to take a moment to thank Chantel, our so really taking some of this vision and really implementing it at the high school. So they are both available at each of the high schools 2 days a week for our students. They are now our SBCC team at the high schools every single week. So our high school partners really do rely on our team to support our students, to all of our students. So our STEM Summer Bridge is talking about that just a bit. So last summer was the first summer that we extended our Summer Bridge program. Historically, for about 9 years, our Summer Bridge was only a class that students took in the summer. They took PD 115, time management, and they came on campus, took the course, and went home. And so we took a step back and said that after that year that I stepped into the role, students started to say they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to leave after the class was over. They still wanted to hang around on campus and take a look at what was available to them. So we took a step back and we said, well, what could we do? And so we sat down, Chantel and I and Lisa at that time, we took a look at what could we provide these students and who can help us support that. So thankfully, the foundation, as always, has been gracious enough to support us and our vision. And so for Summer Bridge 2023, that previous picture, we had 140 students on our campus for 1 week, 8th graders going into 9th, where they took a class PD 115 in the morning, and in the afternoon, we exposed them to all the resources on the college campus. So really making them feel like college students. So during that summer, many of you guys saw our students in the cafeteria It was, that was the most exciting part of their experience. Is being able to choose what they were going to eat every day was really fun for them. But we also, during that time, they read a book by Victor Rios, our local professor here at UCSB. Created a lot of motivation for our students, and he was our keynote speaker that summer. So this summer we decided, well, okay, let's brainstorm. What are we gonna do? Chantel messaged me and said, okay, I just watched this movie. You need to watch it. So I watched A Million Miles Away, cried my eyes out. That night, contacted Jose Hernandez's team, and the next week we had it approved to create a STEM summer bridge program. At the same time, Stephanie over here was messaging me and saying, hey, I really want to offer this course at the high schools. And we reached out to the high schools. It just wasn't an opportunity there. So we decided to bridge the program as a whole, our STEM summer bridge, really making it an intentional activity this summer. So we will have a course, science fair for students. We'll have alumni talks. We're gonna have Jose Hernandez on the 21st as our keynote speaker. And we're gonna be really working with our MESA program, our PEAK program, Santa Barbara Unified. And this year, we're also including Carpinteria Unified for the first time. So we will be busing, it's a logistical craziness. As we know, Carpinteria is 10 minutes away, but it is a logistics.
An hour
away. Yes. So working together, so Chantel and Fernando are on the ground. They have been at the junior highs over the last few months. Really helping students through that application process, parent consent form, dual enrollment process. We also had a Carol roundup that's very intentional for this population to bring the parents on campus and let them know what their kids would be getting into this summer. So I will send out reminders when this time comes, especially if the students will be in the cafeteria, so you get your lunches before they come in. And then we'll, hopefully have more students than we did last year. That is what it was looking like. This is just, as we see dual enrollment, it continues to be an upward trend for us. And it definitely has increased with fall 2023 numbers as well. So currently we do offer courses on the high school campus, those CCAP courses that we were talking about on the high school campus. As you can see, we offer many courses in many different disciplines. And the little star on the corner there are courses that are newer to our disciplines that we've added. So accounting, journalism, and health education courses that we've added this year. And then also we're constantly working, we're getting requests. So this is kind of coming from everywhere. We're getting requests from the high school end. We're getting requests from our faculty on campus, of courses that they're interested in offering or they think may be good fit for our high school students. So we're currently working on expanding in other areas as well.
All right, here's the educational moment. CCAP versus non-CCAP. Kathy was just at a statewide conference this week. She's texting me saying, what the heck is a CCAP?
You didn't take
career
class.
college and career access pathways. So this came about a few years back as a piece of legislation that added to current ed code to dual enrollment students and created essentially prior to this piece being enacted, we offered classes on the high school campus, but they had to be offered open access. So they had to be just as if it was offered here. Anybody can sign up, anybody can walk onto the high school campus. There were certain restrictions, you had to publish it in your schedule of classes and permit enrollment from anybody, not just the high school students. So there were a bunch of criteria that we had to meet. This came about as it related to closing the equity gap and said, we need to create an easier access pathway for students that are non-college bound to be introduced to the concept and the idea of you are worthy, you can do this, and allow you the trial period of doing that on your high school campus where it's less scary, less intimidating, with a teacher that possibly and to start having these types of opportunities. And so this is a formal MOU agreement that our school entered into with both districts, saying that we will offer these classes with that intent And so essentially the classes that are offered on high school campus are phrased as CCAP versus non-CCAP, which are courses that the students come onto our campus during the summer, during the evening, that take with us. Some of the student benefits for taking CCAP or for schools offering CCAP. The high school is able to close the enrollment, so they're able to close it off and only allow high school students at their school to enroll in those courses. Students can get priority registration, so dual enrollment is able to get priority registration if it's a CCAP approved course. Students can enroll in up to 15 units without paying fees. So if they're coming onto our campus, that's only 11 units, and then fees kick in after 11 units. If it's a CCAP, they can take up to 15 and have those fees covered. They're also removing some of the restrictions of the enrollment process, so you can do a one-time blanket waiver. So for students that are coming on our campus, the high school has to sign off on every single course, every single time they want to enroll. If it's CCAP, they can do a one-time blanket waiver, say, I approve, and they're approved for the entirety of their high school career. So lots of different benefits that are afforded to the student in CCAP. This is our mission. I pulled this language straight from our MOU agreement. So you can see in here, what stands out is that we are creating opportunities, especially for those who may not already be college bound, who are underrepresented in higher education, with the goal of developing a seamless pathway from high school to community college. So again, the goal and the intent and the mission of CCAP is for us to create access for those student populations. So here's our next steps. Here's what we're, and Angelica showed you a preview of the vision for 2030, the California vision. Our activities and how we're approaching the next couple of years are based on that. So when we look at the first one there, it's increased the number of students that graduate high school with at least 12 units of college credit. So what steps are we taking? What steps do we intend to take to try to hit that goal? One, start identifying pathways and courses from areas on campus that want to get involved, that feel like their course is worthy of being taught at the high school, or that they can create a pathway that would benefit these students. So I'll just give you a couple of examples. Currently at Dos Pueblos, Santa Barbara, and Carpinteria, we offer photo classes, we offer film production, we offer multimedia, and we offer graphic design courses. And they're just scattered, they're stock, right? And they lump them into their media academies or whatever they want, but there is no pathway. None of those lead to a certificate. Now, if they wanted to take a certificate, they could, but they're gonna have to take a lot of units and they're gonna have to leave their campus, and they don't know what those pathways are. So multimedia got together with all 4 programs and said, hey, we don't have a current certificate that would benefit them. How about we create a new one? So they are in the process right now of creating a program where they're collaborating on a joint certificate between all 4 programs. That would give them a digital content certificate. It would be a low certificate, so it'd be an 18-unit certificate. If that were magically enacted tomorrow, students at Dos Pueblos and Santa Barbara High School would be able to complete a college certificate without leaving their high school. They can take 100% of those classes without ever having to leave the premises of their school. Culinary arts is currently also in the process of doing a new culinary certificate, low unit certificate, 14 units. Again, students at San Marcos High School and Santa Barbara would be able to take the certificate without leaving the high school. And so the idea is, how do we rethink how we're offering our programming where we can create that structured pathway? We're also doing in conversations with kinesiology. We just had a meeting this last week to say, you know, if we were to offer this class, could we start formalizing a pathway? Are there classes that you're already offering there? We found out that 18 units of that current certificate, they're already offering at their high school campus. So again, creates room for further pathways and collaboration. We continue to collaborate with the schools working on financial support. Last year, we collaborated with them to get some grants from the state. There are future grants opportunities coming for dual enrollment to help us fund that. And then the last one there, increasing staffing and support. We know that we can build it, we can create it, but there needs to be a support system in place to help them. And so what we've done this year is the dual enrollment office is now structured, so we have 2 full-time staff members that are positioned at each of the 4 high schools locally, and they're there full-time 2 days a week. So we don't want them to have to have questions about dual enrollment, have questions about enrollment. Let me go on the website and figure out who I contact, who I email, who I call. They simply walk down the hall and say, I have a question, what's the answer? And that person's there, they know who they are, they have a relationship, they're there full-time, makes sense. Last goal here is increasing the number of 9th grade students that complete 1 college course. So again, looking at why 9th grade, because 9th grade is when you're put on a pathway, right? It's when you determine whether you're gonna be college bound or not. And high school counselors start scheduling you in that pathway. So we want to start early. We want to think creatively and think outside the box of how do we reach out to a 9th grade student and let them know that college is possible. We're playing around with the concept of a dual enrollment academy. This might be an idea where we create a 1-unit course that's involved with career, major, job exploration, and we bring them on campus. We bus every single 9th grade student on campus. We give them a day on campus to learn, see what it's about, see what services we have, feel the love, feel the support, and walk away with a plan in their hand that says, you know what? I kind of like visiting nursing today. I kind of like walking around theater arts and seeing behind the set and behind how that works. I think I might want to do this. How do I do that? Here it is, right here. This is how you do it. This is what you're going to do for the next 4 years to get here. And so we'll continue to play around with that concept. We're doing things to simplify the enrollment process. So we just adopted dualenroll.com. We're looking at technology and creative ways to simplify the enrollment process to make it easier for them. And then also continue to work on programs that we already have. We talked about the Summer Bridge program, strengthen that to make sure people understand that we're here. We have programs. Also increase the number of Latinx students that complete at least 1 college course. So we're meeting with the school district on May 10th. We continue to have meetings with them. We want to schedule students with intent. How we know there's a very specific population that needs access. How do we make that happen? How do we provide classes and pathways where we can schedule those students into those courses and make it an option for them? We're exploring also with what do we do with parents? So we know that with that population, let's start with them too. How do we, maybe we can do a non-credit bilingual course for parents in 9th grade that corresponds with this 9th grade option for students. And we start educating those students for how to advocate for their sons and daughters, because we know they don't know how. Right? When a high school counselor takes them out of a class that's college prep, they don't know how to advocate. They don't know how to speak up and say, no, my son or daughter is going to college. They need this. They need to be on that pathway. And so perhaps we can do that with developing a non-credit course.
Develop a non-credit certificate, then we'll get funded for it.
Feed them in, yeah, certainly.
Just a 2 course.
All right, we gave you a fire hose there. What questions do you have for us?
Well, so we in theater, we looked into all of our high schools to see if any of the teachers had masters. Unfortunately, they did not. So it became a more daunting issue because of everything you've talked about. I had heard there were some plans to try to raise money for high school instructors who are interested in getting a master's to complete that process. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, so Jens has been working on that already, so he's been working on a pilot program with our foundation, and also some of those CCAP grant funds, we actually allocated some of those funds to do some of that work, where we can scale up instructors. As we know, Santa Barbara is very expensive to live, and Corinthia. And so we have these instructors that are already invested in those communities, but they don't meet the MQ. So identifying those instructors and scaling them up is what we're currently working on. Yes.
The other piece that, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, so what what would you say to those instructors at
So I
this
think
point?
At this point, it would be identifying a pathway, so again, making sure it makes sense. And then
Okay.
we would work with, I don't know how we formalize the process, but we're formalizing it with the foundation, and again, just kind of grabbing funds from everywhere that we can, depending on what school it is.
Okay,
The other thing that we're encouraging, or the conversations that we're encouraging to be had, is a little bit more proactive with the school districts to let people know that, hey, if you actually get a discipline-specific master's degree,
Right.
you would be eligible to teach dual enrollment. So it's a conversation that needs to happen at lots of different levels.
Okay.
Yes, let's look at the workforce and see how we can help support them get possibly a second master's degree.
right,
Or as people are entering, even thinking about working like UCSB's education program, to have those conversations and make sure that people are aware that that's a requirement, and it's not an SBCC requirement.
right.
It's a state of California chancellor's requirement. So even if they go somewhere else, it's still gonna be the case.
We just, to that note too, we just, Kathy and I met with a school this week, who was excited to teach, a particular subject, and they had a teacher that met the NQs. But by the time we met, it said, hey, we just got notice the teacher leaving next year.
no.
And so we lost them, and we're gonna have to hire a teacher, right? And so we used this opportunity to say, Kathy said, well, let me tell you what we look for when we hire our faculty.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking at. I know the NQs are there, but these are other things that we're looking at. And we're happy to share that with you. We know that you're gonna hire based on your high school preference,
Right,
but you might as well filter in some of these. Because what if you have a candidate that also meets our criteria, and you can use that to then, hire in your practice. So they're very open to working with us to figure out how to make this work.
The last thing that I'll add is this year we did do a pilot with Santa Barbara High School in Spanish, where we did actually have 2 of our part-time faculty in the high schools teaching Spanish
right.
dual enrollment.
But we have to pay for that.
We did pay for that.
Right, so it's a bit more expensive.
So it's not as ideal, but still really good.
Right.
Okay.
I have like a pedagogical philosophical concern with this, and I know this is something that's coming from the chancellor's office, and it's not you all, but you're 14 in 9th grade. My son is 14, or he's 13 and a half. Like, he's not college ready.
Right.
And he has parents with PhDs. And I'm concerned about them moving, like, faster is better. And that you're losing education, and we have students transfer and they can't get through the first year of college level English and math. So how is doing this faster at the high schools benefiting these students? And we had to shut down one of the history dual enrollments because the high school was just sticking students into US history as juniors, and they had gotten D's and F's freshman and sophomore year in their social science classes. So they were just setting these kids up for failures, but now they have an F on a college transcript as opposed to just an F on your high school transcript. So are we thinking about that? Can we track these students? Can we really be intentional about it? Because we can cause a lot of harm.
I think the last point that you made is probably the most important, and the goal is really to be strategic and intentional about what classes are we promoting for 9th grade students.
Right.
It's not a one size fits all. It's not gonna be one, every single student all of a sudden freshman year is taking political science or US history. It's being very thoughtful and intentional about, and that's one of the huge benefits of having staff on the campuses, about the collaboration between academic affairs and student affairs, is that we're really able to be more present and the development of the CCAP pathways, and really think about what does that look like from beginning to end, because it's not gonna be wonderful for everybody to do one thing when they're 14. And some students may be ready. That's the other piece.
Yeah, well, they may
We have 10-year-old students on our campus
Yeah,
sometimes, so.
but I'm just
I will also add that, Santa Barbara Unified and Coventry, I have both invested a lot of money in tutoring. And again, being very intentional, so with the Spanish, that was a very good example of caseload management for our students. So Fernando did a lot of work in managing and assessing how the students were doing week by week. to feed, if you need additional tutoring, and he would go in and do presentations to say, there's additional tutoring on campus, and this is the additional resources we can provide you. So really making sure that we're kind of hand-holding and supporting students. We can't do the work for them, but providing them with all the support that they need. And so the high schools are committed, again, to providing additional support, whether that be tutoring support, whether it be extra person in the classroom to provide additional services for the students. So sometimes what we have is, we have what we did with Spanish is, the idea was that we have a Spanish instructor teach 3 days a week, and the other 2 days the students are doing the work for the class. So it's like built in kind of course. So yes, it's not a one size fits all. We do have some work to do in some courses, and I mean, think of what the students that maybe thought that they weren't college ready and realize that they are. Those are the ones that were really.
Yeah, but my point is, they need to be successful, because there's no point in being like, take this college class, oh, you failed, right? That's just.
And I think that,
And
and
there's-
there's Michael's point, the data does show that students that take one courses are more successful than students on our college.
Yeah, and there's just a brain development.
So the intent of CCAP is not to say, go find the students that are gonna be successful. That's not the intent. It's the opposite, right? They're saying, no, go find the students that are being told they're not college bound. Go find those 1.0 students that are disengaged and figure out a pathway for those specific students to get them there. I got told my entire life I wasn't a college worthy. If I listened to everybody, I wouldn't be here, right? Some athletics happened to find a pathway for me that engaged me. I took a course, I got engaged. That one class, that one instructor, that one program launched me into college ready, right? So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is targeting.
Not like,
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about this, it's just. There's potential for it to be bad, and I don't wanna harm the students that we're trying to help.
It needs to be
That's
strategic, yeah.
what I'm trying to voice.
Yes, I agree. It needs to be
Yes, and that's
strategic,
why
yeah.
we need more staff to be sure we can pay for. So yes, making sure instead of, that we have one staff dedicated to each high school, because it's a lot of students. We have over 2,500 students taking the learning courses. So yes, we need more staff to caseload manage so that we can be intentional, so we can support them, so that we can monitor.
Kathy?
I think a really important piece of this, and this is how we got involved this last year, with one of our classes, is I was really reticent because I wanted to make sure the class was gonna be taught at a college level, that the content was gonna be what it should be. And so we worked with one of our faculty, and Michael actually has paid him a small amount, or the college has, to mentor that faculty member and actually go and observe, not just do the evaluations, but observe, go and talk to this faculty member, look at everything they have. He's been really impressed with how well this particular class is going, but I think that's really important that we provide that mentorship so that the high school teachers understand what we expect, the content level they need to have, and then they need to make sure they're not putting students in classes that they're not ready to take. And like with this last thing, which was too bad, we had a really good faculty member, I thought, that was really qualified. And in our discipline, you can meet minimum quals and not be a kinesiology or PE teacher. And so I explained all that and want to work with him on who they finally hire, because if they don't meet what we require here, I'm not going to do it. And that's where we can help them in hiring faculty too, is working with them on, minimum quals, maybe minimum quals, but we also have certain standards and requirements. So I think it can really work. I mean, I'm really excited about it. We're going to start developing 2 CTE certificates, low unit certificates, that I think would be perfect for high school students. And whether our faculty teach those classes or we find high school, whatever it is, I think we can find pathways. I was really leery when I first heard this, but I think if it's done right, it can really work. But I do think the administration has to be willing to support those faculty mentors. As a department chair, it's sort of part of my job. You're gonna get probably some, you have a faculty member you add, you get your little measly $300 a year for that. I don't know how we figure the TLUs, but maybe, we get a little extra. But if I'm mentoring now, that's a whole different picture.
So I think there does need to be some money carved out for department chairs or department members who are actually doing this mentoring.
And I just want to clarify for that mentorship is actually paid by the CCAP grant and not by the college. So CCAP
Well, that's even better.
Yes, yeah.
That's even better. Exactly.
It's gonna pick that up for the next 5 years.
I don't wanna have to go battle for a little bit of money for my mentor.
Question back there.
Yeah, here you wanna go?
My question is just in this discussion. And especially with regards to appropriateness, it sounds like that bridges into counseling. And so I'm hearing that staff are caseload managing, but I'm not hearing how counseling is involved or the training that's involved in that. I think these become counseling issues
Yes, they
of
Yeah,
skilled trained counselors having these types of discussions.
it's definitely an area we want to explore. So what we've seen modeled at other schools is they've hired or they've worked in conjunction with the high school. The high school counselor understands high school requirements, ATG requirements, but then our requirements are a bit different. So that line does blur just a little bit. So that's really an area of growth for us. We've been trying to figure out ways to provide support for our dual enrollment students, especially as they are our students. And many of these students are now have 50, 60 degrees, but they don't have support.
Units.
I'm sorry, units, thank you. That's.
I wish.
They don't have access to an academic counselor. So we need to, hopefully with Degree Works, that was one of the highlights of Degree Works is including our dual enrollment students in there so we can, run some reports in there to see where they are. So that is definitely next steps, absolutely.
Just to add to that, I think she was emphasizing when you were using the model of having a dual enrollment person talk with the students in the Spanish class week to week to check in and see how they're doing. Counseling in that sense.
Sorry, that is not what was happening. It was more so checking to see how the students are doing and giving that information to the high school counselors. High school counselors were then working with the students to see if the course was still appropriate for them. And if it was not, then they were being dropped. Sorry.
So are the high school counselors being trained on our courses?
It was more so to see progress for the courses for this pilot.
So who then is advising those students? Who's helping them make decisions about what courses they should be taking?
It is really the high school counselors that are advising students, but our DE team that is there are there to support the students through the process. We don't advise on what courses to take. We say, well, these are popular courses that are taken by our dual enrollment students, but it's really the high school counselors that are saying, okay, to complete your A through G, you want to be competitive in college, you're going to take these additional courses. So we would.
Wow.
That's where I think the missing link is, because I don't feel like the high school counselors know how that impacts our students when they become our college students, and I don't feel like they have a lot of knowledge about our courses.
We agree. Yeah, there's definitely a
missing
missing link, and at this time, our dual enrollment students are excluded from making appointments with our college counselors. So they don't have access to even make them.
Well, they meet with us when we go out to the high schools, but that's only once a month.
So
Anybody can, I've met with non-seniors at the Career Center when they come, but it's.
yeah, we
once a
encourage
month
our students
for
to
the
come
whole
to
high
monthly
school.
visits. So that's what we do. We do encourage them, but we do have one-offs. We have a lot of students that are also not, on the high school campus all the time. So I think just working out a process to kind of streamline how to give them access to our counselors, absolutely.
Trisha has to do that.
Yes, I had a little question. Did someone say it's okay for me to talk? Okay, yeah, thank you. I was wondering about if there's sort of a uniform class that the students would take too. Like, remember Get Focused, Stay Focused, I think? Wasn't that a course that was a city college course? I think it was for college credit, and it was offered to, I believe, 9th graders, and it was designed for the high school student, like taking into account their brain development and what they're ready for. And it was practical and it was planning, but it was college. Is that still something that would be offered, or are different students in 9th grade be taking all different classes depending on their need?
So I would say both and. So we are exploring the possibility of developing, like Michael was saying, a course that talks about being college ready, that talks about majors and careers, that talks about college success, sort of a pre-version of like our PD 100 class. So that is something that's being discussed, but it's definitely not going to be a one size fits all like the Get Focused, Stay Focused class. And so there may be a lot of other options that could be appropriate for high school freshmen to take. That would not be the exclusive class. The Get Focused, Stay Focused class is a curriculum that our high school partners weren't fully invested in. And so that's one of the reasons why we no longer do the Get Focused, Stay Focused curriculum.
We should wrap up soon, and we definitely have a follow-up. Thank you, it was an amazing presentation. We have a lot of questions, and this is an issue we've been thinking about all year, for enrollment. Where is a mechanism to have more collaboration to explore this? Because there's a lot of faculty here with expertise that don't have the chance to be part of this work. So I don't have the answer to that, but I'm asking this team, you're doing amazing work, but I think there's a missed opportunity, have a little bit more of a chance to get input from our instructors and counselors. So I've seen some nods on that. So if we kind of put that on a think about list. So last couple of questions.
I have a couple of questions and some comments. In the data that you showed us, was this like class to class comparison? The student that was taking the course through dual enrollment compared to the exact same course of our students, or is it just in general dual enrollment students passing and all SBCC students passing?
Pertaining to whether,
When you did when you had the slide of the, in summer, these students taking these courses through dual enrollment had like a, 78% pass rate compared to our SBCC students. Was it just in general, or was it specific to the classes that they were in?
In general.
Okay.
The general pass rate. Yeah.
Okay, because I think it would be good to have the data about class to class, so we can really see, like the students that took PD 115 in the summer compared to our students on campus that took PD 115, what was the pass rate? Because obviously we're comparing students that are taking chemistry in the summer and math 200 in the summer, and that's a lot more rigorous than what some students might be taking through dual enrollment in the summer and the fall or spring. As well as modality to modality as well. If they're in class at the high school, they're in person taking these courses as compared to our students that might be taking it online or hybrid, so that plays an effect as well. I totally agree with you guys about needing more access at the local high schools. When we were there during class planning, one of the high school counselors said, it's so nice having you guys here because we were doing prereq clearance forms. They were filling out the dual enrollment approval form right on the spot, and the students were able to register in the class. I know 2 days is a big step up from what it used to be, but I feel like it totally needs to be more. And when we are there on the campuses and dual enrollment isn't there, like we get all these questions about dual enrollment, and I just feel so helpless not being able to answer any of these things. And so I feel like there's a stronger need for more than 2 days. My other question about the blanket waiver for students, it would be good if you could do something like that for prereq clearance forms. Just because, where students are doing the dual enrollment approval form, and then they have to go through this other barrier of trying to get their prereq cleared, and the students are there, their high school transcripts are there. Why can't we just share that information so that they don't have to go through this barrier of trying to get the prereq cleared?
That's a great Senate conversation too, that would need to be processing prereqs.
And then are we looking at the pathways that are already at the high schools? Because I know what we have here, and the high schools do have really developed pathways, and I think it would be beneficial if we look at those and seeing what we can include there.
That's where we're
Instead of, it sounds like we're doing the opposite, that we're telling our faculty, come here, tell me what you can offer, when there's already established pathways at each of the high schools.
The three that we're starting with, Sabrina, are the three that are kind of the most well established at high schools. So like MAD, DP, engineering, and health academies and Marcus. So that's exactly.
Okay, good. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is, I know you guys were talking about how a way to get parents involved, but there's parent orientation for all incoming 9th graders. So that might be some opportunity for you guys to speak at those kinds of things at the high school.
Yes, we have it scheduled, we will be there.
Great, that's all I got.
Kelly?
I kind of about the data.
Aye.
100% agree with you from a research methodology
Yep.
perspective in terms of, match pair standards. And yet, what I want to say is from a descriptive perspective, when you said with those students, their success rate, irrespective of what parent is really quite strong. So we can't ignore that descriptively, that that's actually done. That's what I was just saying.
Yeah. And I just wanted to clarify, so Fernando and I are on the high school 2 days a week, but we also have 2 different high schools. So we would like to be there more, but we need more staff to be there more. So we're only here in person on Wednesday, which is why we're here today, to get caught up. But I mean, if we're, my 2 high schools is DP, so I'm on DP 2 days a week, and then San Marcos 2 days a week, and Fernando's at Santa Barbara 2 days a week, and at Carr 2 days a week, and then in between there, we're in the springtime. I'm handling all of Santa Barbara Unified Junior Highs in addition to going to the high schools, and then so is Fernando handling Park Area, since they're brand new, and we want to make sure that they feel the love of SBCC. So we do have a really good partnership with our PEAK team where we do train all of the 100 PEAK mentors to help with dual enrollment steps. And they also have PEAK centers at all of the high school and junior highs where any of our students, dual enrollment students from SBCC can go and get tutoring from them. And they can also get steps to enrollment help with them since we train them. So we really are, and then of course, we have goals, and I'm going to mention one of our goals is to also have a kind of a peer-to-peer, hopefully, work experience, peer-to-peer, where we have students at our high schools helping dual enrollment steps. So if they have a free period 4, they can help their peers through the accepted enrollment as well. So that's to come. Yeah, community.
Yeah, and also that, keeping in mind, that's really just our managed enrollment, our CTAC. We still have additional students that take courses on our college campus, so we're really limited on staff. So we're really looking forward to the reorg being done now and opening these positions and filling them because we definitely are stretched very thin.
And we have audit area as well, and just, I don't know how many spreadsheets I have, but I also have one that's audit area that has over 200 students and they can fill courses like no other, and they're all taking them online. So it's just a lot between the 2 of us, and before the 2, there was just me in between, so I'm really happy that I managed to get, thank you.
So out of area high schools.
Out area high schools are all
Private schools,
private-
charter schools,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Summer, there's been a definite intake, of people getting wind of dual enrollment, parents, students getting wind of dual enrollment, and they want to take dual enrollment here, or, they're taking SBCC courses here in the summer, because they can. So. Sorry.
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll look forward to calling out.
Christina will be spit on, so.
Okay.
If we want to, if you have the bandwidth to go to her to.
Yes, so, as announced at the beginning, we're gonna have to be pretty short on these next 2 items. So Lori, I'm just gonna give you a couple minutes. And we're gonna have to come back to them the 8th. We might be able to come back as Keller is done, but we have to honor our guests and we're already almost 10 minutes behind. So I'm gonna call up that item. And I want to thank Lori and ITC, incredible work. And I think this is a really great report. So we will have it time to talk about it more on our May 8th agenda, but Lori, I'll give you a couple minutes if you would like. You've been waiting, and of course, I hope you can stick around in case we have time at the end, but my guess is we won't, given our wonderful questions. So this will definitely get a lot of time on May 8th. Well, sometime on May 8th. Thank you.
So very quickly, I apologize for not being there on purpose. I have some deadlines I have to meet on behalf of Senate, so I'm splitting myself in 2 right now. The report, I think, is pretty clear. We'd like to introduce this to you as the beginning of many conversations around artificial intelligence, not only from a governance level, but from an instructional level, a training level, student services level. And this gives you the big picture. I think it was Angelica who mentioned earlier that Vision 2030 very distinctly mentions as part of their roadmap, strategic directions. One of the strategic directions is generative artificial intelligence. So since last fall, the Chancellor's Office has provided multiple webinars system-wide, introducing the system to artificial intelligence in different topic areas. And based on that information, our charge specifically was to try to draft some basic language around that could be used in the syllabus. And so if you scroll down, Kim, a little bit. Keep going. Right there, this is just the beginning of what I hope will be a participatory process for all faculty to kind of think about what a syllabus statement might look like in their areas with the use of artificial intelligence. And we're pretty clear that depending on the discipline, the department, it will look different. And so what Kim wanted us to do was to at least start the conversation, build some draft language, and then provide resources. Also, I attended the State Academic Senate plenary last week and attended several breakout sessions on artificial intelligence. And so those references are there. And I just sent an email to the State Academic Senate president to find out when this second paper on academic integrity policies in the age of artificial intelligence will be released as a resource document that they've been working on. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, Kim, part of this work is identifying what other colleges are doing. So when I spoke to the president of the DE coordinators system-wide, she reported to me that 80% of the community colleges did not have anything on AI. But in digging around on people's websites, this is what I was able to find. You will see more to come. Also, I wanted to look at what the UCs were doing. So there's information there. And if you scroll down a little bit more, Kim, wanted to see what was happening across the country. And you will see that there's a lot of difference. And this whole emerging technology, ITC is very comfortable with having these conversations because we've been dealing with it for a long time. Each time new technology comes out, we have to think about the impacts not only on infrastructure, student use, faculty training, student training. So this should give you some foundational information to take back to your divisions, start having the conversation, and I will come back on, was it May 8th?
Yes, that Wednesday. So I want to remind you guys, let your people know. 2 requirements. I'm hoping we approve May 8th or else July, which is you need something on your syllabus about how you're treating AI. And you have to have a process if you suspect AI. It's not something you can get out of a tool that says it's used. You cannot give somebody a 0 because some software said they used AI. Those are our 2 foundational commitments at this very early stage. So we do that for May 8th for summer, but otherwise it'll be July. But we need to come to that foundation, that beginning, and then the work will go on. Thank you so much, Lori. I know this is
welcome.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything about the bylaws, except I didn't do it last year. Elizabeth's doing amazing work. There's a lot of edits that we're going to try to get them to May 8th. And if we don't adapt it by then, we'll do it in July as well. We'll finally have a revision sooner. So thank you, Keller. I think I'll let you open your PDF and control it the way Paloma did. And sorry, it's less time. So right, I'll hopefully have you back.
I'll try to go faster than, I'll try to cut some things as I can, but I'm not super great at multitasking, talking to you all, looking at my notes and doing this and watching my time.
Yeah.
So y'all can tell me when it's time to shut up. So thank you so much for having me. I am Keller Maginot and I am just closing up my 4th month here at the college. And you're still here. I've been in higher ed for a long time, 25 years plus.
I really appreciate you giving me some time. I'm the new Executive Director of Institutional Research, and I'm really here today to just talk to you a little bit about the scope of the work that we do, how it's changing, and how I hope to just relentlessly collaborate across the campus. So I guess let's see, look, I've already proven to you that I can't multitask because I didn't even open this yet.
Kelly, do you want me to drive for you?
Sure. Can I still fit? Do I have to stand? No, I'll get a stand. Sure, that'd be great. You made it bigger. You knew how to make it bigger. So I'm going to be aware of the mics on the table. Okay, so I don't want you to go too far away. All right, I'll come right here. Hopefully, if you can't hear me, Paloma, you can just go ahead a couple of slides, I think. So y'all probably know, you're probably familiar with my fabulous staff. That is a small but mighty team of incredibly knowledgeable, very dedicated and talented people that you have much more experience with than I do. I was thrilled when I arrived to find them. I think of them as the swans. And if you don't know that metaphor, basically what it means is that on the surface, they have grace and poise. And underneath the water, they're really going like crazy and often chaos. That is how our office functions, and I'm really, really lucky that I walked into a really talented team who can manage on their own. So a little bit about me. I am not kind of your typical, stereotypical research person or institutional research person, I should say. I have a qualitative background. My PhD is in sociolinguistics, and my research was in studying interactional construction of power and social dynamics and social capital in mostly institutional settings. I loved that work. It was amazing, but it was also, linguistics was a field that was too, as a profession, too theoretical for me. I didn't feel like I was encouraged to really say, here's all this great information and here's how it changes the world. And so I decided I wanted to leave academia, and I stayed in higher ed, and I started working sorry, I'm going so fast, I'm getting almost out of that. Started working in direct service programs. So I was running grant programs and support programs at a very PWI, if you all know what that means, a very white, predominantly white institution. I was supporting the first generation of low-income students and marginalized students. Back then, we called it supporting the students. What we were really doing was helping the institution learn the barriers that we need to get rid of in order for those students to be successful. So that's the lens, the qualitative action research focused and equity-focused, student-centered lens that I bring to institutional research. And that's really different from kind of the standard, what is institutional research. But it's changing. So let me talk a little bit here about why I am really excited about this moment in institutional research and why I wouldn't have been very happy 20 years ago to do this work. If you see here, I've kind of given you a list of the standard responsibilities that have been around for a long time for institutional research. On the left side is what I call the OGIR. It's really what, if you've been in higher ed long enough, you might remember that if there was an IR office, it was likely one person who had a closet kind of near where the president's office was, and they were just doing compliance, mandated reporting, and they were publishing one fact book a year. So they were really just very compliance focused. Then about 10 plus years ago, when the kind of continuous quality improvement movement became such a thing, data was really brought in to help drive planning and decision-making. And this part of our work, it's really across the state and actually the nation, it's kind of quite variable. Some institutions have IR offices more involved in planning and assessment, others do not. Across the state, all of my colleagues are in one way or another involved in planning and assessment. Part of the reason that I wanted to come here was because I really believe that at this moment in your college, you have a leader. You know, Erica's vision, I think, is really to use planning and assessment and align plans and really collaborate a lot, communicate a lot, and use the kind of tools of planning to help everybody kind of row the same way. So I'm kind of a systems geek, and this kind of work really excites me. I know it's excited a lot of people, but I wanted to say in my office, that's going to be a big focus that I can get behind. So that's kind of the traditional, very transactional focus of the institutional research offices. But things are really changing, so you can go ahead to the next slide. But let me catch my breath. Yeah, wait. We're in a totally new era.
Now, if you want to come back on the 8th. Want to just plan on 15 more minutes on the 8th, so we get to go first.
No, as long as you don't mind my catching my breath, we're good. We're good. So where are we now? We're in what I call the messy period. We've gone from very transactional to what you, many of you are probably kind of feeling this idea of we're drowning in information and we are starved for insight. Everybody knows data is important, and everybody knows there's a lot of data out there. We're not using it. We're not understanding how to use it. We don't have the tools. We don't have, frankly, yet, we don't have the resources to do that. And we are in a moment where we need to. So this is the direction that we need to move in this, across the state at community colleges, where I think at the moment we are here, where we're poised to do this. So these sort of new things that are coming into the institutional research office are really about kind of moving away from being the purveyors of fact to the partners in inquiry. And what all of these new approaches mean is that we're here to support and help everyone, y'all, whether you know it or not. I have this book right now that I'll be developing some training on that's called something like, yes, you are a data person, because, and it's a higher ed book. And the idea is everybody needs to be a data person now. And so part of what we need to do is become your partners in that, in really helping to understand that we need information. It is our institutional responsibility to address the equity gaps. It is our responsibility to collaborate together and to relentlessly pursue improvements, simple solutions that improve outcomes for students. So that's the direction we're moving now. And with that in mind, I'm going to give you, this is a preview, first ever draft that you guys are screening. This is a draft vision statement for my office. The Office of Institutional Research and Planning will foster and support a college-wide culture of inquiry and evidence to inform decision-making for student-centered institutional transformation. That's big stuff. It's important and meaningful stuff. There are some things that we need to do in order to be able to serve you in this way. So I'm going to go as quickly as I can through the things, some of the steps of things we're doing now to be able to address that. So we will accomplish this by, this is the stuff I'm working on right now with my staff. So we will be doing this by basically democratizing the data, building dashboards that give you all the information that you need in order to understand what's happening in your courses and with your students and your programs. And also by providing support, training, tools, best practices to help you all understand how you use data to make important decisions about how best to serve students. You can go to the next one. here are some things that you can watch for. What I'm working on right now and hope to be able to launch in the fall is to have a one-stop shop on our website. I don't know how many of you, raise your hand if you've been down the rabbit hole of Tableau.
Oh,
Right?
yes.
Bad COVID. Okay, there are some beautiful views and dashboards that this talented staff has developed. But Tableau, as it is instantiated currently, was never meant to be poked around and used the way that it is. You all need to know where is what I'm looking for and how do I get to it the fastest.
Right.
So developing those dashboards in a one-stop place. I want you to go this way. Oh, it's not in here. All right, let me see. I added a slide, you're not gonna be able to see it that well. That's right. What this is gonna look like is on one page, you will have visual grid of a title of a dashboard, a description of a dashboard, the key information you'll be able to get from it, and a direct click into that dashboard. And
Can that be departmentally designed, so, or as a department, we can have our own sort of,
so let me answer that.
no?
Yes-ish. Yes-ish.
Okay.
So let me tell you my approach to that. All the key indicators for student success should be available and sliceable and diceable and disaggregatable by a zillion different ways.
Okay, good.
So you will be able to see, now this is a conversation that I think does need to happen here later, which is we can make it publicly available, but you get down to the section level for student success.
Yeah, fine.
But I need faculty buy-in on something like that. We can also have other ways of getting close to that. But yes, the answer is yes. You will be able to filter and disaggregate your data so you can look at equity gaps, you can plan, you can act on those plans and come back and see how you're doing. So yes, you will be able to do that. Also, special populations. So anybody that's identified in Banner as a special population or cohort, we should be able to see how they're doing. So the answer is no, you're not going to each get a different dashboard.
Right.
We're going to get the key indicators. You're going to be able to do what you want to and need to with it. So there will be a first iteration. And one of the other things I want to say about the website is that we will also be adding a tell us what you think. So it'll be a like suggestion box form that says, I think there's something funky with this data, or I'd really like it if you could, blah, blah, blah. Because if we don't hear from you, we don't know if there is something that we need to be looking at to fix in the data. So that'll be there too. One other thing I'll say about the website is we need to return to a process of having a data request for ad hoc data needs. And so that'll be available on the website. You'll be able to click through and make a request and it'll go into our department. There are going to be two because internal data requests need to be treated differently than external data requests. We are a small but mighty staff. We are publicly funded. We cannot be taking anybody's request for, I'm working on a dissertation on first generation students at, you know, Southern California community colleges. Can you please give me, well, no, probably not. Or yes, maybe, if you can give me all this information about how it fits with our mission, how it supports our students directly, what you expect to contribute to the field, and tell me that you're gonna share your findings with us. Then I would forward that to the president for approval. So external data requests are a way for me to protect you all, that we are focused on the things that we need and that are important for us. Okay, that means I need to start shutting up soon. But I have a couple more things I just quickly want to run through with you. So the other biggie for me is, and I'll just share very quickly, an aha moment I had a few years, well, I had it during the pandemic when I was in a similar role. And my colleagues said to me a lot, you guys aren't student facing, so it's much easier for you. You can just work remotely. And I heard that over and over and over and over, and I suddenly realized why it made me uncomfortable. And that was because how can we talk about students if we're not talking with students? So for me, that was a big transformation to say, we have to do something differently about how we're collecting data on students. And it was kind of a bringing together of all of my different perspectives. So I'm going to share with you 2 areas of things that I put into place at my last institution, not to say that we have to do these, but to say this would start the conversation about things that we might be able to do. So I'll give you 2 examples of centering the people, not the numbers. During the pandemic, our office was asked, we surveyed students and their needs a lot, and we asked them whether they wanted to be contacted about, resources or support and what have you. So we were doing the surveying, we were collecting information. We then sent out contact information to the right office for what the students were asking for. We thought that was a great, it was a good way to get students the support that they needed. When we started working with students directly, we heard this. There was a student who said, I use a preferred name, and I've changed to my preferred name on my educational record. And whenever one of the mentors or somebody contacts me, they are referring to me as my dead name. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to make people feel comfortable. You're trying to make people feel supported and welcomed. And guess what? It has the opposite effect. I never would have learned that if we hadn't started talking to students. And it was such an easy fix. It was, hey, IT, how come we didn't learn that there was another field we ought to be looking at? Which, by the way, should make you all feel comfortable that that we have challenges like this everywhere. It was, where's the right field? Get it in there, serve the students better. Really, really simple little example. We never would have heard it. We hadn't started talking to students. Second one, no, I'm gonna skip the second one. I can come back and talk to you all. Again, just one more example. This is something I started last year that was such a great project that I would really love to be able to do. Again, we took a group of 6 students we hired them. They were either federal work study or hourly wage, student hourly employees, or D6 students, the 3 months service incentive plans. That group of 6 students became what we call a student advisory group. And they started telling us what we needed to be doing better. What are the questions we're not asking? What are the things we don't understand? We were training them, they were training us. They went out and started doing tabling for quick surveys. We were training them to be peer facilitated focus group facilitators. We learned so much. We gave students an opportunity for some research experience to develop a transfer and career resume, and they empowered and uplifted the student voice. So they got something from us. That's a great idea. We learned a ton. It was amazing. Now I will tell you, we weren't the only people doing this. Last summer I was at a conference, and a professor was there saying they taught research methods, and they coordinated with the IR office to have their students have research opportunities.
Right.
So they were giving credit for the same kind of thing. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was at the Institutional Researchers Conference, and Riverside Community College was presenting on a project that was really similar to this model, but they called it their street team. And I think that's a way cooler name than the student advisory group. But in any case, these are the kinds of things that really take the institutional research office out of the closet with our compliance reports and really collaborate with students, collaborate with all of you. It's a heavy lift. It's going to take some time. You can go to the last slide, I think, or next slide. is of course about collaboration. We don't have time for this, but I did, you know, I will come back if people are interested in giving me feedback, asking questions. And maybe if I come back in the fall, I'll have some beautiful dashboards and website to share with you. That's it. How about I?
Good job.
I'll just ask, I know people are wondering, watch for. You have a target goal of when some of the dashboards happen. So we are seriously working right now with Vice President Villagomez on some enrollment management dashboards that will provide, and this wouldn't have been my first choice, but it is a strategically vital tool that we're missing right now to make student-centered scheduling decisions that are data informed and that also allow us to be good stewards of our limited budget. So that's the first priority. And as I said, I wouldn't have started there, but I have somebody really good that we're gonna be working with. The next ones are that kind of key performance indicators that if I have nothing more than those two ready in the fall, that's my hope. And then the kind of the architecture of the website, even though it might have a lot of those under construction coming soon. Okay. And then one other question from that people have been wondering about. We used to have an institutional effectiveness committee. I don't know if you have a vision for that, if, when, how we might explore that. So it's a great question, and here's my, let's be as uncomplicated as possible. Yes, we need something. I think it needs to be redefined and refocused, because when I read the charge of the Institutional Effectiveness Committee now, to me, it way overlaps with College Planning Council. It has some convergences with student equity, and a lot of it sounds like the charge for my office. So I think it needs to be really clarified and repurposed. And I will tell you from a needs standpoint, one of the things that really needs to happen, and it's common a lot of places, is we really need to understand who are the architects that build the place where the data goes. And we need to understand then who's putting the data in and who's taking the data out. Because if you've got multiple people doing those things and not everybody knows and understands, you have to have a single source of a definition. One of my favorite quotes, I can't remember who said it. If you want to have a conversation with me, define your terms. So there is, sometimes I think in the 4 months that I've been here, there've been a lot of folks coming to me and saying, this looks funny, this looks different than, I had this data from this source, and this looks different. Well, we got to get our house in order.
Yeah.
And that's just standard data integrity. So that's, for me, that's a very important piece. And it's not just the technical stuff. It's not literally the architecture and who's touching it. It's also really defining our terms. One of the pieces I didn't talk about was tracking transfer students. And that's something we can talk about at another time, but we really have to understand what it is we're trying to measure and making sure we know the definitions and we know exactly where to get the data and put the data in. That helps. Yeah, we have a couple more minutes left. So, yeah.
One more minute.
One more minute. So I'm gonna lock the door. I'm gonna stand back here.
I think some of us don't even have data that we could pull from, so we're not even able to do anything. We're not at the table. We can't come to you saying like, this data doesn't make sense because we don't have data from student services, from counseling.
You can go to them and ask.
Right, and we have. So there are certain things on our house that need to be fixed in order for us to even.
100% agree with you. There's a lot of work to be done and work that is being done. For example, there are, when you use Starfish to its full capabilities, you can do really incredible, powerful things with tracking student engagement and then taking that student engagement information and marrying it with educational outcomes and saying things like, oh, when a student does
tutoring, 17 times, or has an ed plan by such and such a date. These are the outcomes that are, right? We can't do that if we don't have really good engagement data. So getting the tools that we already have better deployed and more widely deployed will help with that.
And fully functioning.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, part of the,
So you do.
Christie is actually our
to
selfish
IT.
lead.
So we're already good friends.
so, in closing.
Yeah.
I think we're all hungry to figure out these conduits, collaborate and talk about what we need. So I realize your concern about a new committee, but if you'd be willing even to have a kind of work group /
Yep.
set up some times to do these kind of questions.
Yeah.
Will sort of help us come along. So we'll be asking about that. So
Sure, thank you for that reminder.
Thank you so much. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, why would we want to do that?
Elizabeth and Danielle, thank you. Unanimous. All right. See you on the 8th.
So, Dee, can I ask you a question?
Well, I'm using it.
So, even though fall,
Feedback.
we have program review. Oh, yeah, I was intimately involved in program review. And we're